Welcome back, everyone. We've got another fascinating story to deep dive into today.
All right.
You guys sent in a story about a Nigerian media personality named Nedu Wazobia
Uh-huh.
and his exit from a podcast called The Honest Bunch.
Okay.
Yeah, there's been a ton of controversy around this.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting look into online culture and how much power social media personalities have today.
Yeah, that sounds really fascinating.
So we found this other podcast called The Truth Behind Nedu Wazobia's Departure from The Honest Bunch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it really gets into a lot of different things. So we're going to unpack that together today and see if we can figure out what's going on here.
All right, so is the big question, was he fired or did he leave on his own?
Well, that is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let's start with a little bit of background.
Okay.
For those who don't know, The Honest Bunch is a podcast that's known for, having these open discussions, differing opinions, sometimes controversial takes all laid out on the table.
Right. Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, and Nedu Wazobia was one of the hosts.
Okay.
So when he left, it really kind of, impacted the image of the show, and it led to a lot of speculation about why he actually left.
I can see how that would happen.
Yeah. I mean, just think about it. If you're a fan of a podcast and then suddenly one of the hosts just up and leaves,
Right?
you're going to want to know why.
Of course.
And in this case, there were all these conflicting reports, some saying he was fired, others saying he left voluntarily, and it just became a huge mess.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was wild. So to try and clear the air, Nedu actually released a statement saying he chose to leave to protect the show from any backlash.
Interesting.
He basically said that, the controversial opinions voiced on the show belonged to the guests, not the hosts.
Okay.
And he didn't want the podcast to suffer because of it.
That's a noble thing to do, but also kind of makes you wonder.
Wonder what?
Well, if a podcast is known for its diverse viewpoints, shouldn't they stand by even the unpopular ones?
You're right. That's a really good point. I mean, is stepping back to safeguard a platform really the answer?
Exactly.
Or is there a responsibility to stay and defend that open dialogue even when it gets tough?
Yeah, especially in today's world where it feels like everyone is so quick to shut down conversations they don't agree with.
Yeah.
That's so true.
So what happened next with all this?
Okay, so things were already pretty heated.
Uh,
And then VeryDarkMan enters the picture.
Who's that?
He's a really prominent online figure in Nigeria, kind of like a watchdog, always calling out public figures online.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he dropped some serious allegations against Nedu.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it really fanned the flames and turned the whole situation into this huge scandal.
So it became less about the podcast and more about Nedu himself.
Exactly, and that's where the power of online personalities really comes into play.
Right, because regardless of whether the allegations are true or not,
Uh.
VeryDarkMan's involvement shifted the entire narrative.
Right. All of a sudden, it became a story about Nedu and the allegations against him.
Yeah.
It makes you think, how much influence should these online personalities have in shaping public opinion?
Especially because public opinion can really make or break someone's career.
Absolutely. And in this case, it's interesting how Nedu chose to handle it all.
How so?
Well, in the face of all these allegations and speculation, he chose silence.
Really? He didn't say anything.
Nope, not a word.
That's a bold move, considering how vocal he usually is.
It is. But strategically speaking, it could also be the smartest thing he could have done.
How so?
Think about it. Engaging in a back and forth online can be really dangerous. It can easily escalate a situation, and it's almost impossible to win against an online mob.
I see your point. Sometimes silence can be the best defense.
Exactly. It might be hard, but sometimes it's the best way to protect yourself.
But wouldn't people see his silence as an admission of guilt?
Potentially, but on the other hand, wouldn't speaking out risk making things worse?
That's true. It's a tough call.
It is. And ultimately, there's no right or wrong answer. It depends on the individual circumstances and what they think is best for them.
I guess it all comes down to weighing the risks and benefits of each option.
Exactly.
But the thing is, even with all this controversy, Nedu is still a major figure in Nigerian entertainment.
Yeah, that's what's so fascinating about this whole thing. He's still making headlines. He's still involved in projects. It's like all this drama has only fueled his relevance.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It really is. It makes you wonder, what does success actually look like in this digital age?
Yeah, is it constant engagement? Is it strategic silence? Is it some combination of both?
I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer.
I guess not.
But what this whole situation with Nedu shows us is that we need to be aware of the power dynamics at play online.
For sure, whether you're a public figure or not, we're all navigating this new landscape where perceptions can be shaped so easily.
And it's something we all need to think about. How do we want to engage in this online world?
Absolutely. So let's recap everything we've talked about today.
Okay.
We've got Nedu's exit from the Honest
Yeah.
Bunch, conflicting reports about why he left, VeryDarkMan's allegations fueling the controversy.
And then Nedu's decision to stay silent.
It's been a wild ride.
It really has, and it makes you wonder, what would you do if you were in Nedu's shoes?
Yeah. Would you engage? Would you stay silent? It's a tough question.
It is, and I think it's something we should all consider as we navigate this increasingly complex world of online discourse.
You got that right. Well, that's all the time we have for today, but this conversation definitely leaves us with a lot to think about.
It does.
Until next time.